Over 7 million different animals inhabit our planet.
In India, I met farmers whose crops have been literally washed away by historic flooding. In America, I have witnessed unprecedented droughts in California. In Greenland and in the Arctic, I was astonished to see that ancient glaciers are rapidly disappearing, well ahead of scientific predictions. All that I have seen and learned on my journey has absolutely terrified me.
So the question now is whether we will have the courage to act before it's too late. And how we answer will have a profound impact on the world that we leave behind, not just to you, but to your children and to your grandchildren. As a president, as a father, and as an American, I'm here to say we need to act.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Welcome to the All Creatures Podcast. This is Chris.
And I'm Angie.
It's Friday, Angie. Happy Friday.
Thank you. It is a wonderful Friday.
Yeah,
for me, at least.
I know.
How is it over there? It's Saturday for you, though.
Almost.
Right,
it's almost Saturday,
almost.
And it's a little chilly, and it's okay. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, New Zealand. I drive around. I'm like, come on. You're living in New Zealand. Come on.
Oh, my gosh. I know. I've been looking at pictures from New Zealand and drooling. The colors, the mountains, the ocean. It is. For many reasons, it's on our bucket list. Obviously, you guys are there, but the landscapes look breathtaking.
I know. It's funny. We have family descending on us next month, and I'm laughing. I'm like, it's so cold. It's, they're coming from summer.
They're all coming from hot weather. They'll appreciate it for sure. And are we going to have some guests? Guest interviews next week with your family in town?
Maybe.
What species are they? What category would you put them into? The in-laws.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no, I love my in-laws. I'm very lucky. They're
like panda bears or something really cute and sweet.
They're awesome. They're supportive. They're great. I love my in-laws. If you're listening, I love you guys. Please keep sending those checks.
I want to adopt them. They're awesome. Yeah. Keep the checks coming.
Exactly. Keep sending those checks so we can live in New Zealand.
I love it.
Yeah, they're awesome. So this week in news, it's been busy. I know we kind of had some trouble picking which to cover. So, I think this week we're going to have you lead off.
Oh, yes. Well, I get to lead off with some of the best news as recently San Diego Zoo announced the birth of 2 critically endangered Amur leopards. And yes. And this is, Chris, this is the rarest big cat. Their numbers in the wild are estimated to be less than 100.
Yeah, so they're what, China, like Mongolia, their historical range was, North Korea.
Well,
but now I think they're pretty much Siberia, yeah.
And the other really cool thing is their cold climate, which is pretty rare. We think of big cats, you think of, tropical, subtropical, hot weather. So, but the great news is both cubs were female and
good.
And they were born on April 5th and they're growing fast, but now they're out more for the public. So if you go to the zoo, you can see them frolicking around doing what amazing, beautiful baby big cats do, right? They remind us of
and they're one of the most rare animals on Earth.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I remember, I don't know if the Denver Zoo had it. I know the Greenville Zoo, when Ashley was working there in South Carolina, had a pair. And I remember looking at them and it was like, they are so rare. So if you get to see them, you're really lucky. Because like you said, there's 200 on Earth total.
There's 100 or less in the wild. And then there's around 200 or so living under human care.
In captivity. Okay. So 300 total around the Earth, though.
And it's crazy. My husband got to work with them in Chicago. So we got to be up close and, well, it's just really exciting too because this breeding pair was introduced to be part of what they're calling the Global Species Management Program. And this is an international conservation plan that the zoo takes part in. And there's like up to 90 institutions that are working together to try to increase these numbers with hopes of trying to boost their populations and then re-releasing perhaps in the wild someday. So yeah, it's really exciting. And
no, that's good. That's good news.
And,
yeah, it's really
but
good
in the
news.
wild, they're protected, but they're not out of the woods. Of course, there's issues sometimes with habitat loss and poaching. So the part of this global species management program too is helping restore and preserve their natural habitat. So yeah, but just a feel good story for sure. And one of my girlfriends just got back from the San Diego Zoo. She had never been there. Jessie, you know Jessie. Shout out to Jessie. This is my Jessie, my girlfriend Jessie. But I'll have to see if she's got any pictures of it. She was just there like 2 days ago. Yeah, she saw them. Okay. But yeah, they're super fun and just really exciting, and a very rare big cat birth at San Diego Zoo. And
that's really cool.
Yeah, and they're females, which is Chris and I should probably explain that. Although males are great, don't get me wrong. I'm married to one.
They're awesome. Males are pretty awesome.
I have 2 sons, so I am like surrounded with maleness.
By testosterone, yes.
Yes, with maleness. And so my female dog and I are kind of like loners. But anyways, but and when they're living under human care and they're trying to breed an animal, females are way better, because with the birds and the bees, you only need one male. Right, and the more females you have, the better. So
and then you can ship. You know, we talk about it. You ship the male gametes around the world.
Correct.
Once you figure out those techniques, you know, it's a species by species thing. That's, you know, again, what Danielle's doing with the elephants. We're trying to figure that one out. But yeah, females are very important in a population management, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of times, depending on the species, at least I know with hoofstock, they can be managed easy together, more so than sometimes it's not always great to put males together, but more zoos are working with doing what are called bachelor groups. So they're younger males that kind of grow up together and then they're fine living together. So
it's like one of the hardest to house elephants, and so male elephants are notoriously difficult. So, you know, it's just, again, there's so many different things, and it's a species by species basis, but that's great news.
Yeah.
That's really
and of course, being the reproductive dork that I am, I investigated further to see if it was a natural breeding or if there was any artificial reproductive technologies used, but this was a natural breeding. So at this point, I don't know if they're collecting the male or saving in the gametes. Hopefully they are. I mean, San Diego Zoo is a world-class leader as far as their frozen zoo goes. So we'll have to look more into that, but very, very exciting. And
no, that's cool.
And I know the females, as far as I know, don't have names yet. So, but yeah,
we'll see. Okay. Well, the one story I found last week, Angie, we talked about while you were off frolicking in Michigan. We talked about AI.
There is nothing better than frolicking in Michigan through the
summer,
beautiful
months,
sandy beaches and the blueberry fields in the summer months.
In the summer months, yeah. December's a little harsh in Michigan. But Jesse and I were talking about using artificial intelligence, and there's actually a program that's using these camera traps and documenting counting the number of animals. Usually takes people thousands and thousands of hours. This AI does it in a couple hours. And then I actually have a friend here in New Zealand. She's working on developing AI with another researcher in Australia to look at goat behavior. So
awesome.
Yeah. So that it can watch it and actually document certain behaviors. So who knows what will be in 10 years? You'll probably be out of a job, you know, or you won't have a job because it's all computer.
And honestly, if they're getting better numbers and better data, I am all for that. I'll become a goat yoga instructor.
No, you just do the AI. You become an AI analysis or something. You know?
No, but that's the thing here. That's the thing here in the States. It's
yoga.
Yeah,
what?
It's yoga with goats. I haven't done it yet.
Oh God!
But should I find it easily, I will do it and I'll send pictures because it sounds amazing.
Between that, you and the rhino orphanage, I always tell everybody, okay, if Angie disappears, we know where she's at.
Ooh, stick around in this podcast. I'm actually highlighting not a rhino orphanage, but another large mammal orphanage. So,
okay.
Stay tuned.
So, anyways, this story is smart software. This is from the Smithsonian. And again, for all the listeners, the links are under our news section. You can go there and read these stories and look at some of the images and the videos, because there's actually one where you're going to want to watch the video. I'll save that story for last. But this was called Smart Software Helps Fishermen Catch the Fish They Want, Not Endangered Species.
Love it. Okay,
so,
tell me more.
Again, how technology is trying to help solve some of these problems. So what it is an app or a program that fishermen can use, and it updates daily, or it's a constant update to pinpoint where the fish are that they want to catch. So
how does it do this, Chris?
Okay, so
I'm on the edge of my seat here, buddy.
The fish text in where they're at, and then they ping the fish. No.
That's kind of how I pictured it, to be honest.
Yeah. So just kind of to set this
But they're really smart fish, like, say they're in a different location than they are, so they don't get caught. See?
Yeah. Go catch that thing over there, not me.
The sneaky fish.
Yeah. So NOAA's helping develop this. It's called EcoCast, and their goal is to reduce unintended bycatch. So when fishermen go out, right, and they're targeting a certain species, their equipment is for that species of fish. It's not an endangered or an overfished population, things like that. But when they get this bycatch, which are other types of fish, seals, sea turtles, dolphins, or whatever else that they accidentally catch, it breaks their equipment. They don't want to do that. And obviously especially if it's an endangered species, like say the vaquita porpoise, they would be like, oh my God, they probably, I would hope most of them would care, right? So this app actually tells them where the fish are. So Angie, the way they do this is they're using computer models. And as you and I know in research, that's becoming a big thing.
Sure, you can predict
computer modeling.
The future, more or less.
Right, yeah. Right. And it kind of goes with the artificial intelligence. Using computers are getting smarter. They're going to take over the world. Hopefully it's a good thing. We'll see. It's not like a Terminator scenario. But so they're using computer models. They're using live ocean conditions to predict where the target species will be on any given day. So the weather will affect where fish go. The temperature of the ocean, the changes in currents, things like that. So all of that goes into this model, and they know, okay. And then the fishermen report back. I'm sure they report back, yeah. Hey, I saw this fish here. We caught it here, these coordinates. And so they're uploading this data using these powerful computers, and now they can say, okay, based on how this fish behaves and they should be here. And then the fishermen go out there and search or catch that fish. I
love it.
And not go and hit the other animals or something like that they're not want to. So that's just, I think it's good news. I mean, again, the whole idea of me pointing this out is technology is catching up to some of this stuff. It is getting involved in conservation. It's going to play a big role. It's going to, if we're going to turn all this around, and I think we will, and we can. I feel the groundswell. I don't know why. The plastics, I know we have an uphill battle, but there's a lot of noise out there.
I'd be interested to see in like the years to come, and maybe there already is, but if there wasn't actually like a major in college or a minor of something of, conservation engineering or conservation computer science.
Well, no, I mean, UF was doing that. They were doing that. There was, when I was there, because when I was doing freshman orientation every year, there was new majors popping up with like environmental engineering was a big one. That was an up and coming one. Ecology and conservation, I think, was another one that was up and coming. Marine science came back because not only did students want it, but they realized the health of the oceans. So they're there. So I encourage younger listeners that, if you really want to get involved, suck it up. You'll make it through the physics.
Oh yeah.
All that. You will do.
Yeah. And luckily having insight, foresight or whatever it would be called, I did the zoology major at Michigan State, but I tacked on an environmental biology major because even, a few years ago when I was an undergrad, circa blah, 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 I won't say. So
last century,
yeah,
I could say.
Not quite.
For me,
not
it was
quite,
last century.
Yeah, I guess it was. Anyways, that I just knew, like, having some of those environmental classes on board, the water sciences, earth sciences. Now, I obviously don't have an engineering bone in my body, unfortunately.
No, I don't.
Hopefully Xander does, or Zachary, because their grandfather, John's dad was an engineer. So, but still, like, it's kind of merging the sciences, because I was more hardcore science, but merging ecology with technology. And it's definitely something. It's good for your resume. I know it helped me get into UF. They were like, "Oh, we don't care about the biology. You did some environmental stuff. That's awesome."
Now I've got a really, again, like I said, this last one, it's hilarious that I found. But let's go to another story that you found this week.
Well, it's funny you bring up hilarity because this story is not necessarily about hilarity, but this story is about happiness.
Oh, okay. So
I bumped into a study that reported that watching nature documentaries, which I'm sure that can be anything from a short YouTube animal video in nature to a full-on Planet Earth, which you're a big fan of. And it says that watching nature documentaries is just as good as meditating for overall well-being. So we all know reports keep coming in about meditating. There's all these meditating apps and just like shortcuts to meditate because of all the health benefits that study after study have found. And so a team of scientists reviewed more than 20 studies investigating the effects of different meditation and compared it to other activities. And this was actually out of the UK, but then Massey University in New Zealand. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So New Zealand and the Netherlands. So they all kind of got together and they demonstrated that you can watch animal videos and have similar well-being feelings as meditation and mindfulness.
And listening to this podcast. So there you go.
Well, that's right. Well, and so then I took it a step further because I was like, okay, because in this article they had talked about previous studies, and so I did a little digging. And interestingly enough, last year there was a study that didn't look at meditation at all. It just straight up focused on watching nature documentaries and how it made participants feel. And this was a big study. It was interestingly enough, the Planet Earth makers, BBC. And then the University of California, Berkeley, brilliant school, they got together and they used cutting edge facial mapping technology on 7,500 participants. Wow. So a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they also explored over like 150 scientific papers to look between the link between nature and human happiness and overall well-being. And they concluded that the connection to nature enhanced people's attention, cognitive performance, sense of calm. They made people more pro-social. So my husband, who's a little bit more of an introvert than I am, the nature, I guess, theoretically could help him like people more.
It's debatable. This is like my wife. She's the same. We married the same person, just opposite sex.
I know.
He's
really good at it because he has to work at it. And he does love people. He just explained the way he explained it to me, which makes a lot of sense, is when I hang out with people, talk to people, it doesn't matter if it's sometimes even the wall. As Dr. Warren used to jokingly tease me, I feel energized after that conversation. Where John explained it that a lot of times, depending on who he's engaging with, he can feel tired after the conversation. Anyway, so more nature doc. I'm just like going to load up some documentaries on his office computer. Yeah. And, and then this little bit older study also proved that it can have more effective team players and of course improve physical well-being.
Oh, cool. And I just, you were talking about that and it's just like, I think about my weekend jaunts. We usually try to go explore somewhere in New Zealand, and I know once the spring hits, which is so weird for me, which starts in September. September to me is always cold and leaves changing. But for our listeners south of the equator, it's normal for you, but for us that live above the equator, or the northern. It's just weird. But anyways, in September, October, I know we'll be getting out more. But I just feel so awesome
Balanced.
after we go for a hike. And yeah, and it's weird because what's really weird here, Angie, is it's really quiet. Like, it's crazy. So when we go out hiking, you don't hear millions of birds or insects, or it's just quiet. It's really bizarre.
That is
but it's so peaceful.
Okay.
Yeah. But you go walk in Florida and it's like, oh my God.
Oh, it's like the
chorus.
chorus between the crickets and the toads and it's not quiet by any stretch of the imagination, but it's beautiful because you can hear the birds, and sometimes I hear eagles calling.
Yeah.
Or the whooping, or not the sandhill cranes. So but it's it's just, I guess, a different environment, but it's so peaceful. So yeah, we highly recommend getting out with nature. Yeah.
Or watch nature documentaries.
Right.
If you can.
Right. And I think that's kind of the link, is it just overall makes you feel ridiculously happy, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Like this podcast makes you happy thinking about animals. So this isn't good news. I'm saving my fun story for next, but it's important. And for our listeners in the UK, you probably saw this, and from the BBC, but 1 in 5 British mammals at risk of extinction.
Wow, 1 in 5?
So this was making the rounds
like
this week.
20%?
Yes. So there's 12 species that have been put on the red list by IUCN for wild mammals in Britain. And they only have about 58 mammals left. Now, one of the things I used to do, whenever I gave this talk to the students, when I was going around, when you got this bug in me to fight for endangered species and everything, and I found this slide, and it's called The Vanishing Wildlife of England. And I'll put this on the show notes because it's just something I've had for, I don't know, what is this, like going on 10 years now? Oh no, you started my lab, 2010? So 5, 6, 7 years ago. Anyways, things that, and I always like to bring this one up. So there have been a lot of wildlife that have disappeared. Brown bears, like brown bears in England.
Yeah,
like, really?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they had brown bears. So some of the mammals that went extinct. Brown bears went extinct in the 1st century. They had lynx that went extinct. They had wolves in the 1200s. Their beavers are endangered. I think their beavers, they still have some beavers there. Right whales. Wildcat is the one that's really endangered there. And this mouse. So they have a lot of animals that are endangered there. The one I always brought up was the tawny earwig, which is that little earwig insect that went extinct 100 years ago. And I'm like, who cares about the tawny earwig?
Well, Chris, my son cares about earwigs a lot. He actually got bit by one, and it didn't even faze him.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, he was a little like disappointed, but he still went on catching them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always like, who cares? It's a dumb insect, right? Well, something cares because something eats that earwig, right?
Absolutely.
And that earwig has its ecological niche. So anyways, I used to always use that as an example, and the students were always like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Anyways, climate change, habitat loss, pesticides, disease, these are all things contributing to that. Now, this one made me really sad because I was like, oh, hedgehogs are now endangered. Their populations have declined by 70% over the last 20 years.
I got to work with hedgehogs at the Children's Zoo in Chicago, and they are, I would never want one for a pet. And I know there's people that do like them for pets, which to each their own. But yeah, just using them as an education animal to help raise awareness about these issues that they do face in the wild where they live. Because a lot of people, sometimes when animals like that are used as pets, people don't realize that they're actually fighting for their survival in the wild as well.
In the wild, yeah. So just to wrap this up, so 3 species are critically endangered. The wildcat, the greater mouse-eared bat, which, again, probably very critical to help, or very important in helping farmers in that area. Insect control, and the black rat, which again, I'm sure, the rats in England, they don't have a good history there with the plague
Chris,
and stuff.
we'll have to put one of those species on the list to cover.
The list,
so we can learn more about it. Because off the top of my head, I don't really know much about a wildcat. So well.
Yeah, no, it'd be good. It'd be good. And then then the red squirrel, beaver, water voles, gray long-eared bats are all endangered. So, yeah, the hedgehog's vulnerable now.
Do they have pretty good protections for their animals there, or is it on a species by species basis?
I think it is. And then I think part of this too is at least this is getting highlighted. And so, when you do studies like this and you come back and say, wow, this is bad news, what are we going to do about it? So hopefully there's more action by the UK in trying to save some of these species. But yeah, there are protections in place in that part of the world. So.
Okay, cool. So switching gears a little bit for conservation products and our eco-friendly products, I'm always on the lookout. John recently just started through his work. I believe it's through AZA, so the Associations of Zoos and Aquariums. He's doing a plastic challenge, both individually then at his institution. And so they're giving all this wonderful material about how to reduce your plastic use. And so we've really been, it's a conversation that we're having daily about what we did and what how we're getting better. So anybody who has, a workplace or something, maybe encourage your coworkers or bosses or to do that. Cause I know there's been like weight loss challenges or ride your bike to work challenges. I know the zoo that I worked at did that. Yeah. So this plastic free one is kind of a way to get, once again, the conversation going. And so we're partaking that this month for the month of July.
Awesome.
At our June/July at our house. And just the other day, Xander and I went out for ice cream and they started to put it in a styrofoam cup, which historically I usually take home and recycle because we can recycle styrofoam at a local grocery store here called Publix. But the ice cream scooper, the poor young guy, he started grabbing the styrofoam cup, and I was like, wait. And he's like, what?
I'm the crazy lady.
I'm like, can you put it? It's because it's like a coffee shop it's not even a true ice cream store. Yeah. I'm like, can you put the ice cream in a ceramic coffee cup and give me a metal spoon and we'll eat it here? And he kind of looked at me. I'm like, to save a tree. And then I explained, we're doing this like plastic or challenge.
Plastic challenge. Yeah.
And we did that and it was great. And even though he touched the styrofoam, he still put it back in with the others. So but John and I were talking, it's all about shifting. Like next time I'm going to come more prepared. Yeah. Like it's like, you have to have your Zen Buddhist like monk of like thinking ahead. Right. How am I going to like? It's when you're trying to lose weight or something. Like how am I going to prepare for this cocktail party? Like I'm gonna, how am I going to mentally behave myself?
Well, it's developing habits, right? We said developing new habits.
Exactly, healthy habits. And so, but one of the products I stumbled across, which I just recently ordered, is called a shampoo bar. They're super hot right now, and it looks just like a bar of soap. Which I've always kind of wondered to myself because I don't really have a lot of beauty hygiene myself. So I've always
don't see any earwigs crawling out of your hair, Angie. It's okay.
Right. That is true. That is true. But I'm like, why can't you just use a bar of soap, right? Yeah. And so I've tried historically in the past when I've traveled, especially in backpacking in like third world countries and things like that, I will just use a bar of soap. But it does kind of leaves a film, and it's definitely not as nice as some of these shampoos we have. But a few companies are coming up with these shampoo bars that are specially formulated for hair. Okay. So, and of course they come plastic free. They're wrapped in paper and they don't, no typical shampoo and conditioners, these huge plastic bottles that, you throw out every couple of months. And recently a company called Lush released a viral video about them. Okay. And Chris, they sold more than 12,000 in 2 days.
Wow.
So that gives me goosebumps, hope that people are really starting to want more products like this. And that the other cool thing about this product is besides they even have ones designed for, not that this really matters for you, but for some of my lady listeners out there, but designed for either frizzy hair or thin hair or colored hair, just like shampoos. So there's, and each bar has the same cleansing ingredients, but they don't have all the additives that are in the bottles of shampoo to make it like all liquidy. So, I mean, people
it's the same stuff,
Yeah, that their hair feels clean but not dry. And some people say they don't even need a conditioner afterwards, which is saving a whole, for us ladies out there, we'd like to use conditioner as well. So saving a whole nother product. So I'm really excited. I will report back in a couple weeks.
I'm going to look for that here. I'm thinking like, man, that'd be a good startup.
Yeah, and especially if you're a dude. I mean, seriously, like, no offense, not to like pit men against women or anything, but like, really, your hair is that. I mean, how much of a specialty product do you really need, right?
Oh, Angie, if you only knew. Actually, that soap, it's an all-in-one. You know, we got hair on our bodies and our chests. So
yeah. So
it works for guys, and
Yeah, so look for this shampoo bar because and I'm going to use one. And get rid of those plastic shampoo and conditioner bottles, man. You don't need them.
I know. Oh, it's just, I look at it. So Angie, my favorite story of the week. This one I dug and found this, and it's PG-13. It's totally PG, but it's almost like a sex bot for birds. It's the title in Wired magazine is Why Scientists Turn This Taxidermy Bird into a Robot. And it is amazing. So, I'm going to put the link on the show notes so people can go and watch this video. But it's Gail Patricelli out of UC Davis. And so it's kind of like, it starts off talking about her sense of humor using this robot to birds. So this guy's like, again, you and I in this podcast, we know we talk repro and it's like, whatever. It's, we rarely get giggly, unless you're talking about blue whale anatomy. But so this reporter who's like, from Wired magazine or whatever. So he's not into this animal stuff. But she has a fembot that she's developed for sage grouse, and it's a female sage grouse that, in the story, she said, these are ones that were hit by cars or found in power lines or whatnot. She didn't go out hunting for them. And they were stuffed by a taxidermist, and she built, but they used a robot when they were stuffing the bird. So this bird that is now she found, you read the story, it talks about how she used like train tracks, but some of the males like pooped on the tracks or whatever and they wouldn't work. So now she's developed it's like almost like the little ATV remote controls with the wheels.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hilarious. The video's hilarious. So she goes out there and this fembot acts like a female sage grouse. It's got a little camera so she can record. And what she's basically looking at is studying the mating ritual of these animals.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So again, like technology helping research. And so it goes and it picks the ground and turns its head and stuff like that to kind of trick the males into going into their whole mating dance. Like, hey, I want to get it on with this robot. And then she, records all the stuff. Okay. So like, here's one of the parts. It's hilarious to read. And she's like, and this is from Dr. Parcelli. Males fall for it hard. She's all, which doesn't say much for them, that they're like, when these males, like when there's no hens around, she said they often try to mate with dry cow pies.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
So she said, she's like, the bar's pretty low for them to fool them. So it's pretty easy to fool them into doing this. But the important part is because their habitat is disappearing.
Sure.
They're having a lot of problems. And so she wants to see these mating dynamics with all the environmental changes that they're seeing in their native habitat. So, she's using that to study them, to learn about their behaviors.
And we talk about that a lot where you really need to understand an animal's behavior and territory and dynamics and reproductive biology if you're going to attempt to save it, because otherwise you're just like, throwing, arrows in the dark or whatever the analogy would be.
Yeah, maybe,
and
throw money down the toilet,
right? And so I think this is, she's documenting not only really critical, important behaviors to help save these guys, but I think her technique is, as much as it might make us giggle, perhaps could be used by other researchers other bird researchers that are desperate to try to understand different birds or before they become extinct. Like I know here in Florida, we have what's called the grasshopper sparrow. Scientists and conservation experts in Florida it's a race against time with this bird. And so something like this potentially, this fembot or robot potentially could get closer into their native habitat and try to understand more, what's the issue, what's going on here. And like you said, it's all these different technologies where technologies meet science in order to help conserve, or at least learn more about the animals in order to conserve them.
Well, yeah, and especially like these sage grouse, the male mating ritual is just crazy. Like she was talking about, they have this crazy display with their chests, right? They're the ones that blow. They have that bladder and they suck in air, and it's like, and they make the crazy noises and stuff. So it's just, it's fun. It's fun to study this stuff and come up with different things.
Oh, absolutely.
Animal behavior is amazing.
And just really quick in pop conservation news, I was over the moon and back for reasons I don't have time to get into a podcast. It's more of a fun story to tell over a cup of coffee or a beer or something. But the Dave Matthews Band, which I was a huge fan of, I still am a huge fan, but I was a little bit of a Band-Aid back in the late 90s, early 2000s, as far as going to shows and somehow finding myself behind the scenes and yada blada. But anyways, I've kind of fallen out of the loop because I'm just super busy. But this band is awesome, and they're progressing into this century by doing rock star amazing things for conservation and taking a stand for wildlife. So I just love when people that have power and influence and really go out of their way for wildlife. And so what the Dave Matthews Band is doing, and it's the foundation. It's called the Bama Foundation, I think, or Bama Foundation. So he, of course, because he's awesome, has his own charity foundation, which all rock stars should, if they don't. But yeah, so they're taking a stand for elephants and for community-based conservation. So what they're doing is, if you make a $10, that's like a Starbucks and a half. Contribute.
That's a house here in New Zealand, to be honest, Andrew.
Right. $10. If you make $10, if you make a $10 contribution to support not the band, but to support the Retiti, I think I'm saying that right, Reteti Elephant Sanctuary in Kenya, you'll be entered to win a chance to go on a luxury safari to Kenya to go to this elephant sanctuary. And then you'll also win 2 tickets to see the Dave Matthews Band in concert in LA. And then probably one of the coolest things, if you're a music dork like me, is you win a guitar with a custom inlay of an elephant hand drawn by Dave. So that's pretty cool if you like guitars the way that I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so it's just really cool because at this elephant sanctuary, these are, it's a very community-based program. This is in northern Kenya in the Samburu district. And so the community is taking a stand against poaching and trying to, any elephants that are baby elephants need to be rescued. They work with them, bring them back to health, and then they re-release them. So it's, and it's community owned and it's run. And so there's a lot of other partners, obviously not just the Dave Matthews Band, but I think it's just an incredible way to get people excited about conservation. That maybe I, of course, will just go donate to an organization if I understand what they're doing and believe and support it. But this gives you a little incentive. So I was incentivized. Yeah. I made a $50 donation, which I don't have. I'm like, whatever. And there went on my credit card. But $50 donation because I got like double, or I got 5 times the entry, the chances to win or whatever. And we know I won't win. I know I won't win, but it still gamifies it and it makes it fun. And I think that's obviously the band's smart enough to know to do that. And then, in the same instance, there's also like the first $10,000 raised are being matched by another conservation group called Elephant Gyms. So there's putting all these partners together, and I just love the Dave Matthews Band. Maybe I can get him on the podcast to talk about elephants.
Him and Leonardo, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then maybe he'll remember meeting me back in the like early 2000s, which he probably wouldn't, and that's okay. But, that's I said, a different story for a different day. But yeah, man, $10, help out baby elephants. I watched the video with Xander and he had all these cute questions. He was like, first of all, he's like, is this in the olden days? And I'm like, no, this is Africa. And then he said, can I work at the elephant sanctuary? And then he said, where are all the buildings? And then, Mama, can we go to Africa soon? So if anything, even if you don't donate, watch, we'll put a link up, at least watch the video that talks about what they're doing. And I hope that more rock stars or actors or people of influence, do things like this.
Do stuff like this.
Yeah. And maybe in September, I'll be in LA going to Dave Matthews concert. And in 2019, I'll select one person, maybe one of our lucky listeners, to come to the Elephant Sing.
Your co-host. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. No, lucky listener. I'm the lucky listener.
I mean, first I'll ask Dave Matthews if he'll go with me as my guest.
Okay, that's fair enough. Fair enough. Then you can do Leonardo, go down your list. And then if John's busy, me and I will bring.
Well, it sounds like now I have to bring Xander because he's like already. I mean, he's 4.5 and already he's 4.5 and already asking to go to Africa. Drop the mic. My job is done. I feel awesome. Like parenting, parent win. Yes, parenting win for sure.
Yeah. So Angie, I'm excited. Dave Matthews is awesome, and it would be awesome if you won. I'll be rooting for you. But this week I found a new species, I didn't find it, but I did find the story on it, and that is a new. This thing is awesome. I was excited about this one. This tiny turtle that fits in the palm of your hand.
Oh, precious.
I'm looking at it. It's like it would fit just basically in the palm of your hand. It's so small. And they found this new species in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It's the only place on Earth where they're at.
Oh, cool.
It is.
I've been to Puerto Vallarta 20 plus years ago. I was like a kid, but
yeah. So they're in the local streams and everything there.
Cute.
And this one is called Kinisternin vogti, and it's named for the herpetologist Richard Voigt, who studied turtles in that part of the area. So this is a new species. It's this article, again, I'm going to link it. It's really cute. The guy's holding it in like between two fingers, the one in the lab that they're trying to learn more about them, how to save them, because obviously they're endangered because it's the only population and there's not very many of them left, but super tiny, cute little turtle. Yeah.
Well, I kind of took the same route of cuteness that you did. And I was able to find what is wrong with us? We didn't find anything. We read, right? I was able to read an article. I can't talk clearly. About a new species of shrew, which if you're not familiar, shrew is like it's in the mole family, if you will. But it was discovered in the Philippines, living on a single mountaintop. And it's known as the Palawan moss shrew, and it lives on Palawan Island in the southern Philippines on a mountaintop. And it has a stout body and broad 4 feet with long claws, which it uses to dig through the dirt in the forest to look for earthworms. And it doesn't really, this moss shrew doesn't really have any close relatives in Asia, and they don't really know how it came to live on this mountain. So it was spotted. The animal was spotted in 2007 by researchers, actually from the Field Museum in Chicago, where hopefully I get to take Xander in a few weeks here. I'm super
I need to
excited.
Go there.
Yeah. Well, we're going hopefully in a couple weeks. You can join us.
Yeah. Take some pictures of Sue.
I know. He doesn't even know his world's about to be like so rocked. And we'll also and then I get to go to the zoo and visit all my furry, my human friends, and then my furry critters. So that'll be fun. So they were surveying this mountain. They thought they saw something, but they couldn't identify it, and they couldn't find it again. But just recently they were able to confirm this is indeed a moss shrew, and it lives in elevations between 1,500 and 2,000 meters, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah.
So
up there.
yeah, and we'll put the article up there so you can see a picture of it.
Yeah.
And and I'll do the name, even though everybody will laugh. But it's Palawanasorex muscorium. That's not bad.
Good. Hey, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
B+ for sure.
You can speak some Spanish or French,
a little Latin, a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Well, it's amazing that when we start doing the research behind this and how many species, again, that's why I propose that we did this each week, is because there's so many species we don't know out there and we're finding them every day. So, kudos to the researchers out there doing this work. We love you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. We should try to get one of these researchers on for an interview and, live through their treks and travels.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Well, anyways, Angie, have a good, wonderful weekend. For the listeners, go to the website, allcreaturespod.com.
Yes.
And you can click on all these links and videos. You can go check out the sedge grouse robot and all this cool stuff.
And pay $10 to enter.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, yeah. The Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah. Help baby elephants.
Support elephants. Yeah, I love elephants. That's where I'll be. You'll be at the rhinos in South Africa. I'll be in Kenya with the elephants.
Yes, if I had to pick, I'd pick the rhino orphanage. If I ever run away from my life, that's where you'll find me. But yeah, this elephant one, Ratati, is really amazing. And yeah, we'll put the link up on the show notes because you guys should check it out for sure.
All right, and just stay tuned. Next week we will have a new species. We're all set.
Yeah, there's some great things coming up. I'm really excited, so it should be fun.
Yeah. All right, take care.
Bye-bye.